So for more, security analyst Yaakov Lappin is here, host of the podcast, The Lappin Assessment. So this is emerging detail coming out of these historic talks, a security intelligence mechanism. Difficult to know exactly what that entails, but it does speak volumes that there is some kind of a breakthrough.
Well, it speaks volumes that there is an effort to display a breakthrough. And I think that the Trump administration is placing a lot of pressure on both sides to try and make that breakthrough happen. So it seems to me that both are playing along with that pressure. Now, I think, Syria wants to continue to remain under al-Shara in Trump's good books, because this opens the Syrian economy up to investment. This legitimizes the new regime. This basically helps him stabilize the country. So he's definitely got an interest in doing this, and he wants to create pressure on Israel to withdraw from those 9 outposts that the IDF has taken right after the Assad regime collapsed. What's Israel's interest here? I think, Israel is very suspicious of this regime, a lot more, I would say, behind closed doors than what it says publicly even. But at the end of the day, we don't still know. He's an enigma, al-Shara. He remains an enigma. Is this a jihadist? Many commanders in his new army are still jihadists. They were massacres of the Druze. So what kind of intelligence are we going to be talking about? Now, the only thing that comes to mind is there is a shared enemy here between the al-Shara regime in Israel, and that is Iran. Iran and Hezbollah are definitely not happy to see al-Shara take over Syria. They had basically ruled Syria through their ally, the Assad regime. So maybe there could be some cooperation there. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I think that we have to separate the headline from what happens on a day-to-day basis. I think that suspicions will remain high, and a lot of this is a reflection of American pressure, at least at this stage.
Trust certainly remains a disturbing issue, a worrying situation. From Israel's perspective, there is, Yaakov, another major player in the region that we cannot ignore, Turkey. And the Foreign Minister, Hakan Fidan, is also in Paris meeting with Syria's Foreign Minister, Assad al-Shibani. How does that worry you? What concerns you when you hear about meetings like that happening right now?
Look, we have to remember that basically al-Shara is in power thanks to Turkey. Turkey enabled al-Shara to come to power. In many ways, Turkey hopes that al-Shara will be the proxy of Turkey. Now, whether al-Shara goes along with that or not is a separate question, but he definitely owes much of his existence, the existence of the regime, to Turkey. Turkey is the one that helped him survive in Idlib when he was holed up there fighting the Assad regime and the Iranians and Hezbollah, as we were saying earlier, and the Russians as well. And so it's clear that Turkey is going to try and maximize this regime, to try and spread its influence, to try and get its agenda into Syria, Islamist agenda, pro-Muslim Brotherhood agenda. We know that the Turks have tried to send weapons, and some of those weapons crossed Israeli red lines. And we had airstrikes earlier this month. Earlier this year. So at the end of the day, Turkey wants to use the new Syrian regime to expand its influence. Israel views this influence with great suspicion. And the fact that they're consulting so closely is not a surprise to me. At the end of the day, this is the formation of some kind of new axis to our northeast. It's some sort of Islamist, Turkish-led axis. Turkey is spreading out into Syria, and it wants to dominate Syria, and it wants to approach the Israeli border from Syria. So at the end of the day, this is something that I think Israel has to watch very closely and alert the Trump administration of the way it sees these kinds of developments, because Erdogan is still on very good terms with President Trump.